So are you ready for the 5 mistakes that I see mature women make and how to fix them? And then with one bonus tip that has nothing to do with makeup at the end. And these are seriously easy fixes to do. Just knowing what you need to do is probably the most important thing. So if you want your makeup to look softer, more lifted and natural, then keep watching. And if you do gain any value from this video, please consider subscribing. So we're gonna start off first with brows. And brows instantly frame the face. And the most common mistake I see are 2 mistakes, actually. One is using too dark of a brow pencil, and number 2 is not doing your brows at all. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do one side of my face the wrong way, and I'm gonna do the other side of my face the right way. That way you'll be able to see the difference. So let's go in and do the brow the wrong way, and you can see the difference. So I'm gonna go in with the brow pencil. So this brow actually doesn't have any hair on it really at all, so you can see the difference between this eye and this eye. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in with the brow pencil that's way too dark for my eyes, and you're gonna see how hard that can look on my face. One of the things I see is that they go in and they just kind of pencil in the entire brow, and they just kind of go back and forth like this and fill it in the entire thing. Or even worse yet, I see them, they get tattoos, and the tattoos are way too dark, and there's like no definition in the brow. It just looks like it's been stamped on there. So this brow pencil is actually the shade of my brows, but it's way too dark for me. And a good rule of thumb is if you're looking for a brow pencil and you are not sure what shade to get, just go with taupe. Taupe is like the easiest brow pencil. I have used it on women with darker brows than mine, and it just kind of fills them in. I mean, if you can get the right shade, but I'm telling you, if you're in a pinch and you're not sure what to get, just go with taupe. It's the safest thing to do, and that would be 2 shades lighter than my brow here. Now, in this camera, it probably doesn't look that bad, but in person, so there you go. That is one that's way too dark. Let's go in and do the other one. I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna go in with a softer brown color, and I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna start at the arch, and I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna go in with like flicking motions up. I like my brows to look like hair. So I like to just go in there and gently just flick up. I start at the arch and bring it up, and then I go all the way to the tail. I bring that tail and I don't go down with it. You see how my brow wants to curve down? I bring it and I go slightly up with it, right? So it kind of lifts up the eye a little bit without dragging it down. Now you can see on this brow how it's coming down, and it kind of like drags down my eye, where on the other side it will lift up my brow and just kind of make it look more youthful and more lifted. Okay, and then in the front here I would go in, and again I just do like flicking motions up to make it look like hair-like strokes. That is the most natural way a brow should look. And I just kind of go in and I take it and I make flicking motions up like this. So if you're looking at it, it looks like hair that's growing in there. So when you're done, it should look something like that. So let's go on to mistake number 2. That would be using an eyeliner that's way too dark and too heavy. And I still see this happens all the time. Women go in and they go right on the top of their eye like so, and they draw it in, and because we have texture on that lid, it kind of skips through there. Can you see that? It's like, I'm gonna go close my eyes so you can see it. Can you see how that is like skips across the texture on my lid? And then they'll go in and they'll also do the lower lash line, which just really closes up the eye, okay? And that just makes it look way too hard. If they go in underneath here, do the waterline. So when they're done, the eye looks something like that. Now, what I propose you do is go in there with a softer brown color. I'm gonna be using this one here. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this black eyeliner pencil. It's actually waterproof. It's very, very nice. It's just not right for a mature eye. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in there with a softer brown color, and I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna go right up into that lash line and go in there and just kind of bring it up in there and go right into the lashes, not just the waterline, but the actual lash itself. So it looks something like that when it's done. It doesn't look nearly as hard. Now I do go over my lash line, and I'm gonna show you what I do that's different. I'm gonna go in there and I'm going to go right up there in that lash line, and you can see it's all skipped there too. I'll go in there with a pencil brush and I'll go in there and I'll smudge that out so it looks a lot softer, and just go in there and bring it across and soften that up right across that lash line. Just kind of go in there and smudge it back and forth right there, so it just gives it a softer look. So mistake number 3 that I see women making is using the wrong shade of foundation. So I have 2 here. These are beautiful foundations. There's nothing wrong with them, but one is the wrong shade for my skin tone and one is the right shade. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna go in with the wrong shade, okay? And you're gonna see right away. And women also go in there and they put on too much foundation. You need very little foundation. And they go in and you go in and... Now, this is a beautiful foundation, but it's just way too light for my skin tone. Now, what I do when I'm looking for a new foundation and I'm unsure what shade to get, I'll go in. I always go into like a Sephora or someplace like that where they actually have samples. I'll go in and I will test it across my jawline. I'll test 2 or 3 of them just to see which one I think is the better match. And I'll just take like a little bit and I'll go in there and I'll just put it right across here. So there I can see how it matches up with my neck and my chest. Now, my chest sometimes is tanner than my face, depending on what time of year it is. So I don't ever go as dark as my chest. What I will do is just go in there, blend it up to this part of my face, make sure it matches with my neck area so there's not any contrast. And if my chest is darker at that time, what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll bronze up my face with the bronzer to kind of match the chest area. So this is a good match for my skin tone, right? You can't see any, you can see the difference between this side and this side. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna take a little bit, I'm gonna go in and I'm going to just immerse my brush in there and kind of move it around. And I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna go down and blend that in. Now that's not too much, right? It's just a much better shade match. So the 4th mistake I see mature women making is going in there with too heavy of a concealer on their under eye. Too heavy and one that's matte, and it just kind of seeps into every one of their creases and fine lines, and then it just looks very dry and crepey looking. So I have this one here from Natasha Denona, and this is a beautiful concealer, but it just doesn't work for my eye. And I'm gonna go in. This is a matte concealer, and matte underneath my eye just looks very dry and cakey looking. And you know what? I know these mistakes. I made these mistakes myself. And I think as we mature, we think that if we go in there with more, it's actually going to help correct some of our skin issues, which it just kind of counteracts it. It really does. So less is definitely more as we age. Okay, so what I would do is I go in and I'm gonna use this one here. This is the Skin Mimetics from Make Beauty. Use a serum concealer if you have dry, mature skin, especially if your eye is dry and crepey on the under eye. This will go in and you're gonna see how it just kind of seeps into my skin and just corrects that under eye. That makes it look more lifted and youthful. So I go in, I just take a little bit in here, and I go a little bit on the corner out here. And I actually can go in there with more of this because it is so light. It is so serum-y that it just kind of blends into my under eye. And I'll go in and just press this into that under eye so that it looks like so. The 5th mistake I see mature women making is their blush placement. What I see that's most common is they go in, and I'm gonna be using this Pixie blush here, which is a beautiful blush, but they go way too low on their cheeks with the blush. They'll go right in here and bring it up, okay? Brush and go in there and dab that. That's way too much, right? But they go in here with, now this is beautiful. It's a lovely blush. It's a little pink, but I'm trying to get my point across to you that it's, you know, this is a little extreme. So they go in and they just kind of put it down way too low. And that will sit here on my cheeks and it's gonna drag down my face in here. Now, what I do, and this is a bright blush, is I go in right up here about the eye and I just kind of lift it gently right there. And I'll just go in there and I'll dab that in up here on that cheekbone. So it gives it a more lifted look. I don't bring it down in here because that's not doing anything. So can you see how this side looks more lifted and this side looks heavy and just very aging looking? So this is the bonus tip I want to share with you, and it's doing a bang that's way too short and too frizzy. Okay, so this will just age you in, I think a lot of times women want to do bangs because it kind of covers up any fine lines that they might have on their forehead. But what it does is it just really just kind of focuses in this area here, okay? And it doesn't really soften up the face at all. It just makes the face look harder and just aged looking. So I'm gonna show you what to do instead. Now, you don't have to have long hair, but you should have a longer bang that just kind of frames your face and looks softer. So this is a softer, more youthful looking bang that kind of sweeps across your face, frames your eyes, frames your cheekbones. It's not focusing too much on this area where we have some fine lines and wrinkles and maybe our eyes are, you know, we have hooded eyes or whatever it may be. So this just kind of softens and frames is what we're looking to do. And that's it, guys. Those are 5 of the biggest mistakes I see mature women make, plus a bang mistake that can change everything. These fixes are so simple, but when you put them together, it makes the biggest change. Let me know in the comments which mistake you were making. We all have at least one. I think mine for the longest time was a couple of them, right? My bangs too short and too frizzy, okay? And what other, oh, for the longest time, I never did my brows. Like when I was in my 40s, I never did my brows. And once I started doing them and I saw the difference, like that was huge. You know what? If I'm being honest with you, I think I've made all of these mistakes, but I've also seen the difference when they're corrected. But when you're going through that 40s and 50s and your hormones are changing and you're going through menopause and there's so many changes going on with your body, you're struggling trying to figure out what's going on here. I have seen what the little differences can do and what a huge difference they make. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you gained any value, please consider subscribing, giving this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.